Her dead body was floating in a tank, but I'd just seen her alive on the monitor. She's been dead for 8 years, so who or what have I been watching? And what the hell do they want from me? 3 years ago, I was browsing local job listings when one ad stood out, not for what it said, but for what it didn't. It simply read, "Job available, good pay, no benefits, discretion required," followed by an email. At the time, I was managing a music store that was rumored to be shutting down soon. Out of boredom and curiosity, I replied. Half an hour later, I got a response with instructions to visit an office for a screening. I filled out forms, left, and didn't hear anything until a month later when I was invited to a second stage. This time I met a man named Mr. Solomon in a different upscale office. He showed me a room with a chair, 2 monitors, and a metal box with red and green buttons. Solomon explained the job: 7 6-hour shifts a week. I'd sit in a surveillance room watching a live video feed and log anything interesting once an hour. No personal items allowed, no taking notes. The green button flagged noteworthy activity. The red was for emergencies. My actions would be monitored at all times. The job paid $35 an hour, which felt suspiciously high. I asked if anything illegal or harmful was involved. Solomon said no, it was just sensitive, confidential work. If I accepted, I'd have to sign a strict non-disclosure agreement. I'm only sharing this now because of everything that's happened, so I took the job, quit the store, and jumped in. The actual worksite matched the model room almost exactly, just with some minor additions like a bathroom and water cooler. And most importantly, the monitors were turned on. The right monitor was just a black and white terminal, no internet, just space to log my notes. The left monitor showed a room. You could call it a bedroom, but it had a lot more. A bed, a TV, chairs, tables, open space. The camera was set high, giving a clear view. But what I noticed first wasn't the room, it was her. She looked a little older than me and was beautiful. The first time I saw her, she was asleep on a sofa. I leaned in to see her better, then felt embarrassed, like I was spying. But I told myself I wasn't doing anything wrong. I wasn't hurting her, and it was probably part of some experiment. I needed the job. So I sat down and started working. It didn't take long to realize she wasn't there by choice. I never saw her hurt, but she never left unless others, men and women in strange uniforms, took her. Sometimes she struggled. Most times she just went quietly. They always brought her back, and she never looked injured, just tired or resigned. I thought about quitting, hitting the red button, telling the police. But I was scared of losing my job or what might happen to me if I broke the rules. I made excuses. Maybe it was an experiment. Maybe I was there to make sure she was safe. I told myself I was helping by watching. Rachel, I'd started calling her that, painted a lot. She always looked peaceful while painting. But then, a few weeks ago, her expression changed, more focused, intense. She painted more often and finished 4 in just 3 days. Then she moved them into view. They were stunning, dreamlike, a forest, a well, a house on an island, an old movie theater, and hidden in the swirls of color were words. I leaned in, heart racing, and read them out loud. Please, help, me, Thomas. I froze, hand over my mouth. I didn't know what to do. I thought about the camera above me and pulled my hand away from my face. I rolled back to the desk, trying to stop shaking, to breathe. Should I hit a button? The red button was for emergencies. Something serious like a police or ambulance situation, but no one seemed hurt. The green button seemed like the next option. This was definitely something noteworthy, especially since she was asking me for help. I paused, questioning if it was really for me. It could have been another Thomas. There were so many of us. But I didn't want to be a skeptic. I had to believe it was meant for me, and that was something they'd want to know. But still, should I press the green button? My hands hovered over the metal box, but I hesitated. Breaking the rules scared me, and I wasn't sure who the bad guys were. I didn't know if they were holding her prisoner or if she was the bad one. I looked back at the monitor. Rachel was already moving paintings, glancing up at the camera as if she knew the message had been received. My chest tightened, and I pulled my hands away from the buttons. She wasn't bad. I knew her, in a way, and I was going to try to help her. I spent the rest of my shift pretending to be normal, trying to figure out how to help her, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something bigger was going on. After work, I drove around the block and parked near the building. I waited for hours, watching for any signs of change. Finally, a man came out, and I approached him. I needed answers, but he was scared. He told me to stop asking questions, that they were always watching. He warned me I might already have sealed our fate. As I walked back to my car, uncertainty weighed on me. I couldn't stop thinking about Rachel, and I knew I had to do something. I decided I'd record a video and send it to the police and news outlets. At least I could try. But when I got home, everything changed. I turned to see her standing in front of me. Rachel? She hesitated, then smiled. Is that what you call me? I like it. My name is actually Melanie, though. I felt my face redden. Of course, her name wasn't Rachel. That was just something I made up in my head. But I couldn't hold on to my embarrassment. Confusion and joy were stronger. Is it really you? She nodded. Yeah, it's me. I stepped forward, and before I knew it, I was hugging her. She laughed and hugged me back for a moment, but then whispered in my ear, Thomas, we need to talk and not out here. Can we go inside? I pulled away, nodding as I wiped my eyes and tried to unlock the door with shaky hands. My heart was pounding, but once we were inside and sitting on the couch, I forced myself to focus. How? Her smile faded, and she looked worried. Thomas, things aren't what you think. They never have been. A new fear crept into my chest. What do you mean? She rubbed her forehead, struggling to find the words. Thomas, you're part of a psychological experiment. I've been in it longer than you as one of the actors, and I still don't know all the details, but I'm pretty sure it's run by some government agency. They're investing a lot of time and money into it, but I'm not sure for what. I shook my head, trying to process what she was saying. This is a trick, right? Melanie continued. You're being watched. They've created a scenario where you're secretly watching me, someone they've set up to look trapped. You have buttons to press, right? Red and green ones? I nodded weakly. Yeah. They're testing you. How much you'll obey, what choices you'll make based on your morals, intelligence, and fear. I've heard things, and I started to feel bad about it. I interrupted. Other actors? Her eyes widened. Yeah, Mr. Solomon's still around, and there are others. It's not just me. I spend 6 hours a day acting like I'm trapped, painting or watching TV. I can't even paint. The paintings are fake. They're already done, and I just show you the blank canvases. My voice trembled. You fake the paintings? Melanie looked embarrassed. I'm sorry, I'm not a painter. I'm a singer, though. She paused, her expression darkening. That's why I had to contact you. When they started with the mind games, I got worried. I didn't want you to get hurt. I was in shock. You saw me in my car? She nodded. I followed you. I was scared to approach, but when I saw you talking to Charlie, I knew they were escalating things. Charlie? I asked. She rolled her eyes. Yeah, Charlie Jeffries. He's another actor. He used to play Mr. Solomon before they decided he wasn't scary enough. He's been in the suits for your version of the experiment. I clenched my fists, trying to process everything. So all that stuff he said to me? Just to scare me? To see how I'd react? She nodded, tears in her eyes. Yes, I'm sorry. That's why I had to tell you. I saw how scared you were. I pulled my arm away from her touch. Well, thanks. At least you stopped me before I went to the police and looked like a fool. I just want you to leave. She looked hurt, but I couldn't deal with her sympathy. Thanks for telling me. I need time to think about this. It's a lot. I turned away, my voice cracking. I just need some space. A moment passed before Melanie's hand landed on my shoulder. Thomas, you don't have anything to be embarrassed about. They are really good at what they do. All you did was what you thought was right, because you're a good man. I shrugged. I thought you were in trouble, and I wanted to help. She gently turned me to face her. When I looked up, she smiled, sniffling again. I know, but you need to realize that most people wouldn't have tried to help, especially when it meant risking their job or safety, not for a stranger. I wiped at my face, looking away. I still feel dumb, but I'm glad it's not real. I'm glad you're okay, that we both are. I hesitated, catching her eye again. We are safe, right? She hesitated, then nodded. Yeah, I think so. Like I said, they've invested a lot in this, and the fact they're going as far as they have makes me wonder. But I've never seen anyone actually get hurt. The worst that could happen is one of us getting fired. My face reddened. Oh, don't worry. I'm quitting tomorrow. I'll finally get to hit their damn buttons. Maybe both of them. I smiled, but then I saw the worry in Melanie's face. Thomas, please don't do that. I don't think they'd hurt us, but if you quit, they'll know I've talked to you. I don't think they're watching us all the time, but I don't know what they can track. Cell phones, satellites, whatever. I'm already taking a big risk being here, and I don't want them catching on. I stepped back. So you want to keep getting paid to trick people like me? She grabbed my right hand, which I hadn't even realized I was clenching. Her touch made it relax. No, I don't want to, but I wasn't expecting things to change like this. Meeting you, it's a lot, and I can't keep doing it long term. But another month or two to save up money? Now that you're in on it and won't be scared or hurt by it, that I can do. We can keep going, take their money, and then we can quit. One of us first, then the other. I shrugged uncertainly. It made sense, and once I calmed down, it probably would make more. She squeezed my hand. And when it's over, I want to get to know you better. I know I've been playing a role, but mostly, that's been me you've been watching. It's only fair I get to see more of you too. She blushed. Assuming you're interested? My hand grew clammy in hers and my stomach fluttered. Well, yeah, I'd really like that. Swallowing, I added, how long do we have to wait to see each other again? Melanie grinned. Work another month or so. Save up. Then quit. I'll wait another 2 or 3 weeks, then do the same. And then she looked up at the ceiling, thinking, 3 months from tonight, we'll meet right here. I'll come over and we can start getting to know each other better. How's that sound? I smiled, nodding. That sounds great. When she left a couple of minutes later, part of me hated to see her go, but another part was relieved. I was exhausted, and while I was happy she was okay and we finally met, I felt like a burnt-out light bulb. I needed time alone, time to think and calm down, and most of all, time to rest. I didn't even remember falling asleep, but when I woke up, my alarm had been buzzing for over 30 minutes. I scrambled to get ready for my shift at work. Melanie had stressed that we needed to act normal, which meant I couldn't show any sign of being overly worried or too calm. I had to keep up the act. Still, when I walked into the surveillance room, I felt a little lighter. I didn't have to worry about her anymore. I knew I'd get to see Melanie again in a few months, and that kept me going. I watched her on the video feed as soon as I got in. She was asleep when I first arrived, and I wondered if she was as tired as I was. When she woke up and started reading a book, I had to stop myself from smiling. I couldn't let myself act like I had a crush. An hour or so later, she started working on another painting. Watching her, I was amazed at how real it all looked. The colors and the details made it feel alive. I was proud of her. She was a great actress. I couldn't see any clues that she knew me, and she seemed different in the room than when I'd met her in person. As my shift ended, I hated leaving her, but I was drained. I realized she was done painting, and she carefully picked up the canvas. She walked it over to the sofa, blocking it with her body before stepping aside. It was a painting of a massive tree. The bark was a dark red with twisting branches covered in deep green leaves that looked like storm clouds. It was amazing, just like all her paintings. But this one was different. If you looked closely, you could see small blackbirds in the branches, and they almost looked like they were made of words. I felt my heart race, trying to stay calm. It was just a game, right? Still, the words on the birds caught my attention. I squinted, following them from top to bottom, left to right. That girl isn't me. I looked up from the painting, and there she was, Melanie, staring up at me, terrified. Oh no. I knew I had to act, and I had to do it now. If Melanie was a fake, then they must have sent her. And if they sent her, that meant they knew about the messages in her painting. They knew about my questions. They knew I hadn't hit a button during any of it. Panic gripped me, crawling up my chest and making it hard to breathe. I stood up and started pacing, glancing back at the monitor now and then to see if Rachel was still there, if she could help me, tell me what to do next. But she had laid down on her bed, and though her back was to the camera, I could tell she was crying. I had to fix this, get her out of there. And if I didn't have a better plan, I would have to go with the one I already had. With the heavy gaze of the ceiling camera on me, I went to the door and stepped back into the locker room. My phone was in my locker, and after fumbling with the combination a couple of times, I finally opened it. I pulled the phone out, gripping it tightly. I tried to act casual, holding it at my side, but I knew there was no point. If they knew everything, I couldn't hide anything. I just had to be fast, get some kind of message out before they caught on. I opened the camera on my phone as I re-entered the surveillance room, hitting record. The camera beeped softly, and once I was sure it was recording, I turned it on myself. My name is Tommy, Thomas Calhoun, and my job is watching a woman trapped in a room. This is not a joke or a movie or whatever. This is real. For 3 years, my job has been to sit in this room. I moved the camera slowly around the room, showing the door to the bathroom, the water cooler, the desk with the monitors, keyboard, and button box, and watch a video feed of a woman locked up somewhere. I stepped closer to the desk, making sure the monitor showing Rachel was clear and focused. I didn't know she was a prisoner at first, or I tricked myself into thinking she wasn't because the money was good. Either way, I know now. She is in danger, and so am I. I lingered on the video feed of her, making sure every detail was visible before turning the camera back on myself. I had to hurry. The video might be too big to send if I wasn't fast. I was struggling to stay calm, my voice breaking as I went on, but I fought through it. Please, help her. I don't know where she is or who has her. I don't even know who I really work for, but they are bad people and she is not safe. I only know that I work in a building at Redacted right outside San Antonio. For Nosleep rules, this address is not real. I only know the names of 2 other people connected to this place. Mr. Solomon, the man who hired me, and a man who might have a job like mine. Charlie Jeffries, I think. I don't know if they're real people. I don't know if those are their real names. Please, I'm not crazy. I know how this sounds. Just come here, see the room, figure out where she is and help her. And I heard the muffled sound of the outer door opening into the locker room. Panic surged in my chest. I frantically fumbled with the phone, trying to stop the recording. How do I send this? Oh no, how do I... There it is. I hit the share button and felt the panic rise again. Who should I send it to? I had only a handful of contacts. I selected them all, hoping at least one of them would take me seriously and get help. The door to the surveillance room opened behind me, and I froze. Not connected to data service or Wi-Fi. Please try again when connected. What? No. I turned to see Mr. Solomon enter the room, flanked by 2 large men in dark suits. Bodyguards, maybe. He raised a finger, wagging it at me. No service in here, Thomas, but you should never need service in here, Cal, as long as you follow the rules. They took me easily. I tried to make a run for the bathroom to lock myself in, but the 2 guards stopped me, pulling me down. They zip-tied my hands and feet and threw a black bag over my head. Then I was being carried out of the room, and it felt like they put me in the back of a van, the carpet underneath smelling strange and thin. I heard someone get in the van with me, and I tried to ask where we were going, if they'd just let Rachel go. A short laugh came from overhead, followed by Mr. Solomon's voice. I'll explain everything when we get where we're going. For now, just relax. It's a long drive, and you'll need the rest. I opened my mouth to say something else, but then I felt a sharp pain in my neck. They didn't stab me, they injected me with something. The world around me started to feel off, and I fought to stay awake. I had to try to get away. I had to. I blinked, trying to clear the haze from my mind. My mouth was dry and my head throbbed, but aside from that, I felt okay. I wasn't tied up anymore. Instead, I was lying back on a padded table, like when you go to the doctor. But this wasn't a doctor's office. The room was big, and aside from the padded table, there was a small bed, a desk with a computer monitor, and a couple of chairs. Mr. Solomon was sitting in one of those chairs. I sat up slowly, still blinking at him. Where is she? Is Rachel okay? He smiled at me, like he was impressed. You really are something, Thomas, trying to be the hero even when you don't quite know how. I respect that. He licked his lips, leaning forward. In fact, I respect it so much that I've decided to start our new relationship with as much honesty as I'm allowed. Some of my colleagues disagree with this approach, but you know what? Fuck them. This is my project, and I think you deserve to know what's going on. He stood up, suddenly serious, lifting a gun that he'd been holding casually in his lap. But before we get into the details, would you like to see Rachel? My legs were still wobbly, but I slid off the table anyway, nodding as I caught myself. Yes, please. Let me see her. The real her. Mr. Solomon gave a small laugh, gesturing toward a door across the room. Yes, reality is always best. She's just there in the next room. I stumbled my way forward, my legs gradually getting stronger as I walked. When I grabbed the doorknob, it turned easily. I expected it to lead to Rachel's bedroom, but instead it opened into another room, one similar to the one I had been in. But this room was different. Strange machines lined the walls, and in the back there was a large aquarium? I wasn't sure. It was a big, tall cylinder filled with some kind of gray liquid. There was a shape in that liquid. Go ahead, Thomas. Feel free to have a good look. You've earned it. Mr. Solomon's voice was cold, his words dripping with malice. My stomach clenched tightly at the sound of them. Despite my shaky legs, I shuffled forward. As I got closer, I realized the shape in the liquid wasn't just anything. It was a body. A person. Or at least it had been. The skin was bloated and hung wrong in places. It was well preserved, but even through the glass, I could see it was unmistakably dead. Oh no. No, it couldn't be. That's when things really went off the rails. Subscribe now, because in part 2, we dive headfirst into psychic surveillance, reality-breaking science, and a truth so wild it might just break Tommy and you completely. You do not want to miss what comes next.